Good. Thank you all. So, thank you all for joining us this evening, and thanks to Alex and Arena and Brian for just a fantastic program tonight. Thank you so much. So, if you are watching this, please feel free to put any comments or reactions you have in the chat for our artists. And yeah, how do you guys feel?
Thanks, Christian. It's great to be here. And yeah, we feel great. Yeah, so nice to be playing together again after such a long break.
I can imagine.
Yes, and it's a beautiful place, really beautiful.
It's really a beautiful
Whole
place, yeah.
acoustics, yes, acoustics is excellent. So we really enjoyed playing and recording there.
Thank you so much, Arena. Yeah, and Alex, how do you feel?
I feel amazing. I think the space sounds so beautiful that it was a pleasure to play, and just the sound it produces, it kind of adds to our performance, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we've found that it's a really beautiful space in which to record, so we've been very happy with that. And our tech side, Nick and Sean on the audio part, capture that so well. So we're
Right.
really that beautiful, warm yet clear kind of sound. Irina, I wonder if you might just talk for a moment about the genesis of the Poulenc trio. Like, how did you find each other? How did you decide to do this? I mean, this is not the most common of chamber music kind of groups.
Yes, we've been together as a group for what already? This is the 17th or 18th season. And at the time, I'm teaching at Peabody also, and I've been teaching there for many, many, many years. But 18 years ago, actually, Brian also briefly happened to be on the faculty. And, once I just stumbled into a recital he performed there. I heard this beautiful sound bassoon. I played already with the oboe and bassoon occasionally, but didn't have a group.
Mhm.
And just so this is, that's very unique, interesting, and why not? Why not to try? So that's how Poulenc Trio was born.
And
At Peabody, actually.
At Peabody. And so where does the name
yes,
Poulenc are you drawing from one of Poulenc's pieces, I assume?
Yeah, well, this is, of course, the most famous trio for this combination. And I think it was also our first piece that we played together, rehearsed and played. So I would have to come up with a name pretty quickly. So just grab the, Poulenc actually brought a lot for woodwinds. I think he has a sonata for every woodwind instrument, oboe, clarinet, flute, and he started writing for bassoon, but unfortunately died before he completed that one. So it's kind of a tribute to a composer who really loved woodwind instruments.
Absolutely. Yeah, and Brian, so you obviously play the bassoon very, very well and at Peabody, but you also have kind of another side to your life too, right, as a tech person?
I do, I sure do. And just to kind of follow up on the naming, one of the jokes that we like to tell from stage is that when we were first naming ourselves, we thought about lots of things. And one of them that we rejected was Black Russian. And that always gets a really fun laugh from the crowd. But you're right, Christian. I also, since I was in music school, I've been very fascinated by technology and by computers. And I actually started a business out of school having to do with building web apps. And now I work for a company called MITRE, looking at artificial intelligence related to healthcare. And so that's kind of my other part of my brain. Music is the real deep love, though.
And how do you balance that? Because I mean, to play at your level, you must have to still practice a lot. Like at least I do. So
there's no balance, and probably not enough practicing. But yeah, no, I enjoy both, and thankfully there's space to do both.
Sure. And Alex, you're the principal oboe of the Louisville Symphony, right, in Kentucky?
Yeah, Louisville Orchestra.
Louisville
Kentucky.
Orchestra,
So,
excuse me.
I started I started in Louisville in 2015, and I joined Poulenc Trio around this is my second season, so basically two years ago, and they've been really good with this concert. I love to perform, of course, in orchestra, but as a chamber musician, it's really nice to get to perform with Brian and Irina. They've been amazing colleagues, and I just enjoy making music with them.
I wonder if you might just speak a little bit about the difference from your perspective when you're kind of leading or as a core member of an orchestral section and chamber music, like when you've just got one or two other people that you're playing with. What to you is the challenge or the difference between those?
I think the difference between, obviously, in orchestra, you have to know when to really play, play almost like nobody wants to hear you in a way. But in chamber music, you always kind of prominent, and you have to always, even if you have like a secondary phrase, you still, provide support for the leading voice, rather than in orchestra. Sometimes it's when you get a big solo, you try to play out a lot, because the level of the orchestra is already, volume wise, it's already much higher than the group of three people, so you have to project a lot more. And then you also, in the quiet sections, I think you have to quiet down a lot more too, because oboe is very piercing instrument, and it sometimes is tricky.
Of course. Irina, like, how has your teaching changed during the past year? Like, I know that Peabody's inching back towards doing things in person. Like, for you, like, what's that process been like?
Yeah, but we went online right away, of course, last March, in March of 2020, and I've been teaching virtually since. And at first, I felt like it's a disaster. The sound is horrible. Just the connection is poor. So, but somehow we almost like grew into it, and there's a certain things, certain aspects of it I like. The students record a lot. They learned how to record themselves, listen back, analyze, and I find also that they kind of a little bit more even. The attention, they have to be very attentive, because there's so much distraction already. So it requires a special attention. And I'm very actually proud of my students that they got through this year and learned a lot of repertoire. Of course, there's a certain limitation. Maybe, I cannot work with them on the sound as if we were in the same room, but we did a lot of repertoire, so studied. So hopefully slowly getting back.
Are you going to miss Zoom at all?
I'm sure what I told you, my students, there's no more snow days for them, because it's going to be Zoom days for sure.
Yeah.
And a lot of things probably will be all the makeup lessons and this and that. So will be probably happening over Zoom. Zoom will stick with us.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting to see what elements of the kind of aspects of COVID life continue beyond kind of the return to quote unquote normal. Like, how much online will we continue to do as musicians? Like, or do we revert back completely? I mean, there's going to be an element of probably streaming that is built into a lot of scenarios that will continue. But in terms of teaching, like, will Zoom be a resource going forward in a way that a year and a half ago never would have imagined?
Yeah, I think you're right, Christian. And there are a few silver linings, but I think Zoom, fortunately or unfortunately, will be with us. But it does open up lots of new opportunities for new audiences, and to play for folks that might not otherwise get to come and hear us. So we do appreciate that a lot.
Absolutely. So, Brian and Irina, I know that you guys both do together this Candlelight concert series in Howard County. I wonder if you might just talk a little bit about that and how that kind of interplays with Poulenc Trio or not, or...
Sure, absolutely. Irina, do you want to go first? Or would you rather me?
Well, I can just, because I came to Candlelight a little bit before you, I think I can start. Been doing chamber music all my life as an artist, kind of from the stage and the backstage. And also with the trio, we did a lot of like administrative also work, kind of working with the managers. And so it's all contributed. And I thought like, okay, maybe it's time to give back also in a way so that I can put together the series, invite artists. I know a lot of knew a lot of artists and a lot of managers. So yeah, I came to Candlelight, joined this organization about 7 years ago, and but Candlelight's been in Colombia for 48 years. I mean, it's one of the oldest series in the area. So we present 8 concerts a year. Last year, of course, everything was virtual, but we just got a note today from the Horowitz Center where we have our concerts that we probably will be entering stage 2 in the summer, stage 3 in the fall, which means people will be allowed back in the halls. So I'm very excited about that.
Of course.
So, and then Brian joined a few years ago, and now he's the president. So turn it over to...
Sure. And I won't say too much, but I'll say that, clearly we're all very passionate about chamber music, and Candlelight is such a wonderful place. I mean, it's in Howard County, a community just south of Baltimore that really loves chamber music. And we like to say that we're bringing chamber music, the greatest chamber music in the world, home to Maryland. And I know, Christian, because you've been producing these series so ably, the challenges of running a series, especially in this time. But it's a labor of love, and we do love it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to come to one of your concerts.
I
can't wait to come to one of your concerts once we are allowed. So hopefully very soon. I know you each have kind of interests outside of music too. I think, Irina, I saw that you forage for mushrooms. Like, where do you do that?
I do it mostly in the forests of Maryland, and actually very close to home. Last summer was exceptional. I don't know like how many pounds of edible mushrooms I picked. I sometimes take Brian on this trip, so he learned a little bit too. And then I have some friends in Minnesota. I went there. This is something we used to do. I grew up in Russia, and Alex too. I don't know if you had this kind of experience, but we spent a lot of summers outside of St. Petersburg in the village. So I would go with my grandmother, and we would, forage. That was fun. It just brings childhood memories. Yeah.
So, Alex, do you do this in Kentucky?
No, but I did it in Moscow. Kind of the suburbs where there's a lot of actually forest, and yeah. So we also, as a kid, we would go, for mushrooms, and we did some fishing too, and it was also brings me child memories, as Irina says.
Amazing, yeah. Alex, what is your favorite part about living in Kentucky? The bourbon, the horses.
The bourbon is very good. I must tell you, the bourbon, the Woodford Reserve is my favorite.
Me too. Me
Yeah,
too.
yeah, it's really nice. And then I think like the weather, I like the weather. It's very it's warmer, almost much warmer than Russia. So I'm used to living in cold Moscow where it's snowing, but here it's a lot of sunny days, and it's almost like in a way California a little bit. The winter doesn't get so crazy, and the summer is really nice. So yeah, and we have a very good and big arts in Louisville with the Lou Orchestra, also there's Kentucky Opera that we play for, and also we collaborate with Louisville Ballet.
Oh, wow.
So we get to do like many things, and of course the oboe repertoire in the orchestra is exceptional. So I get to play solos by the greatest composers out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a question in the chat here, and I'll just remind people who might be watching, if you have comments or questions, please drop them in the chat. But Anton wants to know, what are each of your favorite pieces, personally favorite pieces from the program, and why? Irina, do you want to start?
I would say I don't know, it's hard to choose. Can I have two?
Sure.
I love Previn. I think it's a great piece. It uses all these jazz elements and improvisation. And I don't play jazz, but when you play something like this, you feel like, okay, maybe you can do a little bit of jazz too as a classical musician. So that's a fun piece. And I love Schnittke. So this is an arrangement of, the piece that he did first for the violin and piano, and then also for the orchestra, for a chamber orchestra. And it was actually specially done for us, for the trio. This is a unique arrangement. Yeah, I love that piece,
Yeah, the fugue in the Schnittke was amazing. Like, just like the fireworks.
Fun.
It's really
if you
amazing.
ask me, I love the fugue, but I also love this, the moments of this like huge dissonance in the last movement, when it goes so peaceful, so beautiful, so serene, and then like in the middle of that, it's almost an earthquake with this, this is what Schnittke, shows his signature. Yeah, so that's one of my favorite moments.
Yeah. Brian, how about you? What's your favorite piece from the program tonight?
I agree. I tend to agree. I like the Schnittke as well. And I would say for folks that do like that piece, we have that piece recorded. And we actually did a project a few years back with Leah Purpura, who's a local poet in Baltimore, really fantastic, beautiful poet, who paired some of her poetry with each of the movements of the pieces. And it's available on our website. It's on iTunes or Spotify. So, if people are interested in hearing that, it's a really interesting project.
Absolutely. And Alex, for you?
Yeah, I think I agree with Irina and Brian. The Schnittke is, for this particular program, I think is my favorite, because it really reminds me of Stravinsky's like late pieces where he has neoclassical pieces like Pulcinella ballet, or maybe some Petrushka, a little bit. It's very folkish, and it's some pastoral melodies that on oboe really sound, I think, is kind of made for oboe, and yeah, so it just feels right. Yeah.
Now, I wonder if Alex and Brian, you might talk a little bit about playing double reed instruments and the particular challenges of that. And Alex, maybe even talk about kind of the little hiccup that we had on the day that we recorded, because we had an instrument meltdown somehow.
You want to go ahead and start,
so
Alex?
so with double reeds, we have those little things that we blow. It's a small. I don't know if you can see. It's a small piece of cane that we tie onto a staple, which is a metal tube with a cork, and it it basically makes the oboe where the oboe originated sound. And it sounds really strange without the instruments, but when you put it in, it really makes a beautiful sound. And then with this, I make them myself, and I spend a lot of time making reeds, and it can really affect how you play, soft and loud, or like your sound quality. So it's sometimes the weather changes and the rate also changes, and uh, other days you have good rates and sometimes you have not so good rates. So it's like uh, like getting a Ferrari car or getting like some Toyota, some days, so it's difficult. And then, yeah, on the recording day, what has happened, I was swabbing my oboe, and then one of the pieces of cork, which is essential for the octave key, fall out, and it was very hard to put it back on without. We had to get a glue, and thank you so much for getting the glue. It saved the day, because we won't be able to finish recording, because it really is octave key affects the whole instrument, and yeah. So thanks to you, we got to play the music.
Okay, well, we'd made it through most of the program before the breakdown, but it was a
Right,
little
yeah.
it was touch and go for a moment there. Brian, how much time do you spend making reeds for the bassoon?
I spend almost no time making reeds for the bassoon. A few years ago, I decided, look, I mean, there's either practicing or there's going to be reed making, and there are other people that do that better than I do.
Okay.
And so why not pay those folks to do it? And that's something that a lot of double reed players don't like to admit to, but I'd like to I'd like to change that. Because I think playing the oboe bassoon, on a great day, it's kind of a refined way of playing plumbing. I mean, there's so many keys, there's so many things that can go awry, and so you want to optimize your time, with the instrument. And so that's worked really well for me.
Yeah. So before I let you go, and I'm sure you have dinner plans or drink plans or something this evening, but just tell me quickly, what are each of you most looking forward to once COVID is past?
Coming back on stage and playing for people in the audience, just sharing this live experience, everything live.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the aura when the audience is there in the hall, even when they're quiet, there is certain energy about it, and it's transmitting back and forth from musicians to the audience, and it's a beautiful thing, and we have to keep that alive.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
So 3 for 3. Just live music. Can't wait.
Live music, yeah.
It's been too long. As beautiful as it is to be able to create what we've created this and presented this evening, it doesn't replace just the energy and the vibrancy of doing it real for people, and kind of that interplay of emotion and energy. So thank you to
Definitely.
each of you for
Thank you.
just a stunningly executed and stunningly presented program, just gorgeous from top to bottom, and so happy that we were able to include you in the programming this year.
Well, thank you for the
Thank you for
opportunity.
inviting.
Mhm.
Thank you for inviting us. Yeah, thanks so much, Chris.
Pleasure. Have a wonderful evening, guys.
Okay, take
You
care.
too.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.